Now to replace the lower shaft, first you must inspect it. Just like before when we were removing it, we had to file down the scar marks. If it is not a new lower shaft, please make sure to file down the scar marks and make sure that you can take the collars or the timing gear and put it on smoothly. Now you can see that we left our screwdriver in the machine to act as a guide to hold the other pieces in place. We can now take our lower shaft and start to place it in. Make sure not to put the lower shaft through the belt. Take the belt and move it out of the way as you start to put the lower shaft in. Slide the lower shaft in and start to place it through the feed cam. Make sure that the spring is still underneath your feed cam area. Now double check on the right hand side of the machine to make sure that the machine socket is not in the way. If it is in the way, just like before, if it could not come out, it can't go back in either. So make sure that the machine socket's out of the way and start to slide it in. Once you have it through the feed cam, place it into the lower shaft timing gear itself. Now there is a spring that is on the left hand side of that timing gear, and you have to be careful that it doesn't fly away. Now this spring, it's tight, so it's going to be a little bit hard to put on. At this point, I'm going to remove the screwdriver as my guide and remove the other pieces. I'll back the lower shaft out and I'll take my spring. The spring has a smaller end to it, and I'm going to take that end and I'm going to start to try to almost like twist it on slightly to the lower shaft. As I start to put it on, I can easily push it down easier, and I can see now that it springs on and off. I'm going to take my feed lift cam, place it on, and make sure that the tail of the spring ends up on the opposite side of the little nub that's on my feed lift cam. This allows it to have a little bit more spring. I can see that the feed lift cam moves on and off of the shaft nicely. Now we'll take my black collar and I will hold it in place and continue to put the lower shaft to the left. As I slide the lower shaft through the left, there is one last piece I have to put on before I put it through the bushing and the casting of the machine, and that is one white washer. I will slide the white washer shaft, and at this point I can slide the lower shaft all the way through the left and into the bushing. I can see that I have it coming out the other side of the bushing. Now, I have to remember to put the pin back in. So I'm going to push the lower shaft as far as I can to the left so I can see the hole that is in the lower shaft. I'm going to grab my pliers and the black pin. I will place the black pin back into the hole, and I will make sure that I find the opening in the feed lift cam so I can go back over it. Now, the feed lift pin has to be facing the same way as the screw in your feed cam, so we'll have to remember that for later. Next we put the two white washers on, followed by the black collar. Now we're going to make the lower shaft flush with the end of the black collar. And once we have done that, we can tighten the two 2mm screws. Now we're going to take the inside black collar and we're going to line it up where the screws are in line with each other. We're going to hold these two black collars against the casting. This way we can take away the play in the lower shaft, and we will tighten one screw and test it left to right. You don't want to hold it too tightly because then it would cause the lower shaft to jam a little bit or to turn tightly. Once you have it correct, tighten the second screw. Place the large felt oil circle back on the end of the lower shaft. You can see that the pin is facing up in your feed lift cam. At this point, we must turn the feed cam, place it into its proper position, and make sure that we line the opening in the feed cam up with the opening that's in the lower shaft. So if the pin is facing up towards you, the screw must be facing up towards you as well. This is very important. If this is opposite, the machine will not feed correctly. It's a very important rule to remember. If the pin in the feed lift cam is facing up, the screw in the feed cam must be facing up. Now we can see that our lower shaft timing gear is still loose, which we will leave loose for now. I'm going to stand our machine up and prep it and get ready for our next step, which is feed timing.